Hello, welcome to Studio Pixel. In this video, we are going to learn how to create an audio equalizer by using the mesh nodes in Autodesk Maya. So this is the output that we are going to create, which will be, which you can see that your objects are actually being synchronized with the music, which is coming on the background. So this is something which we are going to create, and let's go dig in. So go to File, a new scene. Okay, great. So first of all, we'll take one simple box, and we are not going to change anything out. So I'm going to go through every details, almost the important nodes and the options of the nodes, and how we can actually manipulate all those things in this video. So first of all, take this cube and then go to the animation section, go to mesh and create a mesh network. And okay, what you can do is I have already created this mesh network earlier, so my default options are actually little might be different than your. So go to the option box and you can see that if you reset the settings, I have used a distribution type which is linear, which is not linear, which is the default one. I use the grid one, though you can change it later on even after creating that creating the mesh node. So you can select the mesh node and go to just turn on the outliner, just to two mesh nodes are out there. Great. Okay, so from here you can actually change the distribution type to linear, to radial, or whatever you want. So for this purpose I'm going to use the grid one. So now for, let's suppose, change it to 8, and as well as the number of will also be 8. You can change any number you want, and at the end of the effects I'm going to show, I'll show you how to change non-destructively, so that you don't have to worry about the number of grids, grid value that you update, and it can update in a real-time manner. So now first of all, what you could do is select the mesh node, and obviously you have to import and add an audio node with it, and immediately you can see there's a warning message because there's no audio file that has been created. So I have to call an audio file. Now, as you already know, if you are familiar with Maya, that Maya only supports uncompressed WAV files. So this is absolutely necessary, and this is the most important thing, even while creating the animations and all, that Maya doesn't support any other file formats like MP3 or any other formats. So you have to get the uncompressed WAV files. So what you can do, you can convert it to a lossless version of any audio, and you can import it in Maya over here. So let's call the sound. I call the sound. I downloaded sound from bensound. bensound.com is a very very good website where you can get the royalty-free musics and all. So yeah, now let's get into the thing. So if you play this one right now, you can see the music has been played, but you cannot listen to it, whether it has been synced, whether you need to increase the tempo or change the sizes of, or how the objects are behaving. So for that, what you have to do is you have to import the audio in your files, in your scene file also, not only in the mesh node, but also in your scene file. So let's do that. The same file you have to call. So when you call the file, immediately you can see it has been came into your timeline, and you can see the green lines of the audio files that has been already been. Great. So now we have to So I'm just good. Now the thing is that I'm not happy with the amount that might be which is happening over here. So for changing those, you need to go through all these options, and you need to understand that what we are actually trying to do over here. So the first option is a mode with one is the spectrum, which is the depending on the amount of sound that you're actually getting over here, or you can use average. Now average is a very interesting one. If you play this, you can see it's when the major movement will start from this first row, and then it will resonate on the every other nodes. So here we can see that is not distributed clearly, and if we go to the average, it has been the entire sound has been distributed from the beginning itself, and then it started increasing the other parts also. So this is something really interesting, where which one you going to use. I by default use the spectrum because that is exactly how the equalizer works. There's no equal distribution of those things, but for the smoothing out and all those things, that interpolation and all that, we have another options, or other options are out there to handle that. Okay, so the next one is whether you want the output mode as a normal or multiply. Now this is a very tricky one. So if you was normal, the entire thing will be normalized on the the values what you have given, like whether right now you can see that where every the position, rotation and scale values are turned on, and everything is on 0. Now if we multiply this, it will actually disappear, which is actually not right. I mean, you can see this. The only thing is that right now our scale values x and z value is absolutely 0. That's why it's not visible. So that is the reason that multiplication of these values is actually with 0. So that's why it doesn't makes any sense. And if you play this one, and if you drag over there, and then hit play, you can see the objects are out there. It's not like that it's not been there. So the only reason is there is no scale values, either scale x or z value. So what you can do is you can hit like a fixed value of 20, and then you can see objects are visible. So this is a kind of a different kind of an effect that you can actually achieve. So this is very interesting and cool also. If you want to create any kind of a motion graphics where you want this kind of an effect with different objects, like spherical or maybe a custom made objects which you want them to work like that. So that kind of effect also can be done over here. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm changing it to from multiply to normal for this particular project, and that's going to be ignored completely, and changing the scale x and z to 0. Okay, so now next options. Now we can change the positions also. Now right now there is no positional change, and what you can do is you can increase the x value, let's say 30. So what will happen is our objects will also moving into the x direction, not only the scale. So this is an absolutely interesting one, and you can play it like I don't want the y-axis, I want only to move on the x-axis. So that is also can be done. Just you can see there is no movement in the y-axis or z-axis, anything, only the movements happening in the x-axis, as I have actually mentioned a particular value in the position x. Great. So let's get back to our old value over here, and transformation space, I would recommend it to the local one, though the objects has been actually I haven't actually changed the object positions and all, but it's best to keep it on local, so that the transformation values will take from the local values, local space itself. Now I can change the frequency graph also, which is another interesting point. If we play and if I add, and I can see, you can see that there is a certain amount of music has been cropped down, so that's why the entire objects are not actually affecting. This is something really interesting you can do by changing it. So here also you can see that I have so this particular thing can be done, can be calculated like the left hand side is actually affecting on the right side, the extreme right of the blocks, and the right hand side is actually been affected the left hand side entirely, and the middle portion is actually been ineffective. So this is something really interesting. If you want to change a certain movement, you want to create or affect certain areas only with the music, but not the entire blocks, that is also can be done. So I'm just turning the sound off. I don't need it to explain the stuffs. So you can see only the extreme right and left objects are only been affected. The rest of the things are not getting affected because that falls into the middle area. So that is also very that can be very handy for certain projects and all. So you can use it just like that. Okay. Yeah, great. So now the interpolation also can be either smooth or linear, whatever you want. Now in this portion I would like to tell you that this smoothing option is something really great for achieving a smoother version of animation. Now here you can see the movements are really very jerky. I mean those things are not being smoothened out. I mean, though sometimes it might be the exact requirement of your project, but I would love to see a smoothing out of my animation. You can see this is not exactly slowed down. It is the smooth interpolation of the animation. Now 5 is actually way too much. I guess 3 is the perfect option where we can actually get the values. Now this is really something which I'd like to tell, that these movements can be smoothing on a basis of your project. It's not necessary that this has to be this like this. So 2 or 3 is sometimes can be a very handy this one. And if you feel that you want to change the value of this particular strength of the speed, you have to just make it down to 1, so that it will be exactly like a unsmooth and a really jaggy version of the movement. Great. I'm not going to change anything out of here now. Yeah, the Fourier scaling is something which will pump up your animation in a great level. So by default it's normal. If you want to the square root of the entire calculation, then you can see the amount has been getting huge than the previous one. Now if you combine this with smooth, you can see this actually looks really nice and all. Now you just have to change the animation speeds and all according to your requirement. Great. Now output frequency attribute is something I never used it, but it's actually can get you a hell lot of nodes in the node editor of this particular thing, but I haven't actually tried it out, so I cannot tell you what is the practical use of these options and all. So yeah, and you can use the loudest one, output volume mode. There you can see that's been increased, and if you use logarithmic, the amount of the scaling value will be way more higher than the other two. So I can keep it as normal. and you can use it average values. Great. Or you can just use a square root of it. I think that'll be fine. Yeah, great. So now we have a scenario. I think you have already noticed this one, that our object is also going downwards, which is not possible. I mean, that's not exactly desirable, to be honestly. Now, what is the reason behind that? Now, the reason is the pivot point is actually in the middle. So what we can do is, rather than changing the pivot point of the object from the beginning, what we actually can do a different here we can use this as a different way. So what you can do is go to mesh, and over here now, so this is something really interesting, and you need to understand this before you implement this. This is a really interesting calculation. We have to actually back calculate this thing. So I'm just creating one object. Oops. Yep. So this is my base level, and you can see by default what is happening is my cube is half of the cube is actually above the base plane and half of it is down. So if I'm scaling on the y-axis, it's actually going up. So what you have to do is you have to scale and you have to move up both. So how can you do that now? So what is happening over here is my scale value, let's suppose the by default value is 1. So my scale value is let's suppose 3 or maybe 4. That will be easier for us. Now exactly half of it will be my translate y value, that is 2. Now if you do that, the object will be perfectly balanced out. Now this is exactly what we are going to do over here in our mesh node. So let's see how we can do that. So here the position y will also compensate the scale, the half, has to be the half of this the scale y. Sorry, position y has to be the half of the scale y. So if my scale y is 30, this position has to be 15. Now immediately you can see everything has been pumped up. You can see now none of my objects are actually been going down. It's all above the base level. This is exactly what is happening. Now if I have to change the value to 60, now again the thing has been little off the track. You have to change this position y to 30. So what we can do over here, how can you can actually automate the entire process over here. So how can you do that? You have to understand what is the scale value. So what, just go to the create new expression, and this is the attribute node that we are actually going to use, that mesh2 underscore audio dot scale y. Just copy this one, just close this, and we need to add a very small expression over here. So create new expression, select it, middle mouse drag and drop over here, equals, and paste the scale y value. So what I have done is this one I'm making both of them equal, but you have to divide it by 2 and hit create. So every time if I say, let's suppose I make it 30, it will automatically compensate the position y. So this is something really handy. Expressions can be really handy. I mean, this is really a fantastic thing which Maya have. So yeah. So now if you play this sound, you can see that everything is going up above the base plane. So this is really cool. Now talking down to the expression, I would like to tell you one more, I'd like to say one more thing regarding this mesh distribution, where it can actually serve you in a non-destructive way. in specifically this particular case. Now you can see this distance x value and the grid x value are actually we maintain is they are actually being connected for making the distribution. So what you can do is, now you can create this, just copy this one and connect this particular with the distance value. So what you can do is, cool, great. Similarly you can do for the grid Z also, because the grid amplitude, yup. So for this, instead of X, use Z, and oops, sorry, that has to be small. Sorry, yeah, that has to be small. Yes, so you have to be very careful about that. Grid Z, Z is actually a small one. So that's it. Now you can see that everything is actually fine, and I even can change it on the fly. See, even if I want it with one value, you can get the entire thing, and if you want to increase it manually, you can do it on the fly. So this is really handy. This kind of an expression can actually save your time a lot when you are actually doing a project. So this is something which I would like to recommend you, that you can use this one, and you can achieve your required goal. So this is great. I think I have made some mistake. Oh no, it is not updating. So yeah, so this is something really handy for you guys. So hope you enjoy this. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you very much.